From director Wes Anderson, Focus Features and Indian Paintbrush present The Phoenician Scheme.
It's my most important project of my lifetime.
Meet Zsa Corda.
We keep getting assassinated unsuccessfully so far.
He's the most bold, most elusive, most wanted man on the planet.
Help yourself to a hand grenade. You're very kind.
Starring Benicio del Toro, Mia Threppleton, Michael Cera, Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, and Jeffrey Wright. The Phoenician Scheme. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. In select theaters in New York and Los Angeles, May 30th. In theaters everywhere, June 6th.
Instacart is here to keep you on the couch this basketball season. With pre-game rituals and post-game interviews, it's hard to find time for everything else. Let Instacart handle your game day snacks or weekly restocks with delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Because it's bad luck to be hungry on game day. Download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days. Excludes restaurants.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Kevin Flynn, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts, and on this episode, a band of British thieves plan the world's biggest robbery, a $250 million diamond on display in a public arena. We'll talk about the Netflix series, The Diamond Heist. Joining me to do that and more is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries, Laura Bricker. Hello, Laura.
Hello, Kevin. And recent volleyball player.
What?
Ooh.
Did you join Nexium?
Yeah, I know. I haven't played volleyball since 7th grade, and I played last weekend, and I don't think I need to play again.
Wow. Do you know volleyball was invented in my hometown of Holyoke, Massachusetts?
Oh,
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, it gives me absolutely no advantage whatsoever.
Well,
But there was a Volleyball Hall of Fame, and I will say that the original Volleyball Hall of Fame was smaller than the closet in our New Hampshire basement where we make this podcast.
you're just up the road from the Basketball Hall of Fame, too.
Right,
Yeah.
which is a real sport. That's in Springfield, Massachusetts. And this was before beach volleyball and anybody really cared to watch it. But hey, that's great. To let me know how it is in the cult, though, all right? Also joining us, our resident Doubting Thomas, author of the City Trilogy, host of Rip Current, our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast, and soon-to-be major motion picture Strange Arrivals. It's Toby Ball. Hello, Toby.
Hello, Kevin.
And finally, filling in for Rebecca, who had a work event that she could just not get out of, is friend of the show and podcast enthusiast, Lisa Strawn. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
So you are the co-founder of the True Crime Podcast Festival.
I am.
You had us out when we were in Chicago. That was before the world shut down for a couple of years.
That was a lifetime ago, yeah.
Doesn't it feel like
I
that?
know.
Yeah.
It does.
But this summer, the festival's coming closer to us here in New Hampshire, right?
It is. We've been trying to get you back ever since, so we just brought it to you instead.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's going to be in Boston. Remind us what the dates are.
July 18th through 20th.
Oh, well, Rebecca's double booked too. No, I'm just kidding. We'll have an announcement about Crime Writers On and the podcast festival coming up. But hey, thank you so much for jumping on. And I know that you actually had to binge watch The Diamond Heist so that you would be ready for this episode. So in that way, you truly are like the rest of the crime writers.
Yeah, I feel very at home. I may have had to turn it up to 1.5 speed at the very end to make it.
To get
Every
to,
week I do that.
Yeah. But also, Laura, I do hear that sometimes you fall asleep and Lance has to wake you up. Hopefully he fills you in or makes you go to back see what you missed.
Yeah, he totally ratted me out on this when he saw your call for people. Who's watched the homework? Well, I did, but somebody fell asleep. Yeah, I fell asleep at the end, but I did rewatch it this morning.
All right, so we want to let you know what's coming up on Monday's show. On Monday, we're going to be talking about the documentary film from Netflix called Deadly American Marriage. All right, so Rebecca's not here to say something stupid to me, and I don't have a stupid quip to throw back at her, so let's get smart and talk about the thing we're going to talk about. How's that, guys?
That works.
All right.
That works. Okay, leading off.
This was the epitome of the great. Fuck me. That is a story.
In 2000, a group of career criminals known for their audacious heists get recruited for what would be the biggest robbery in history. Lee Wenham and his crew draw up a plan to steal the world's largest diamond on display for the public at London's Millennium Dome.
The dome was basically a tent with a flat concrete floor and nothing else. So it must be red rag to a bull that some thieves will be looking at this and thinking, how can I actually steal these particular diamonds?
As the thieves work out how to thwart guards, vaults, and impregnable glass, an elite police unit has been monitoring their plans. And while the so-called flying squad has clocked elements of the bandit scheme, it won't be until the day of the heist when they learn how it all fits together.
We knew that they were planning something big. We just didn't know what the target was or when they were going to strike. But whatever plan they had, we were going to be there to stop them.
Netflix's The Diamond Heist recounts the daring daylight caper to steal the 203-carat, 200 million British pound Millennium Star. Produced by movie director Guy Ritchie, the three-part series is high on action film pace and style. We hear from both the cops and the robbers involved, who tell their stories and take part in the reenactments. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from the Diamond Heist, so if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. Okay, Laura Bricker, so whenever it comes to one of these heist movies, it's got to be something that we can follow along with, and you try to go for the Ocean's 11 vibe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like this right out of the gate, I'm like, okay, this is like James Bond or Ocean's 11. It felt more like a dramatized story than a real life story at times, the way that it was packaged. And I could definitely hear your voice, Kevin, because there was something for everyone here. There were gangsters, there was armed robbery, there were cars, there were boats, there was excavators, there was diamonds. I was like, there was everything.
Construction equipment.
I know. I was like, oh my God. So it definitely had that kind of fun way of telling this story that felt like you're following along in one of these like professional sort of robbery kind of, like a movie, except that this was really like a upmarket smash and grab more than like an actual elaborate sort of heist in the way that it was being planned out with like, okay, we're going to just like drive in here and smash this thing apart with our, bulldozer or whatever. But it had that fun feeling where you're watching all of the characters that are going to play a role in that first episode, all the people that are the robbers, setting up who does what and what the plan is.
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes these kinds of stories work, when they work, it isn't the who or the what of the crime. It's always the how. It's the how do they pull it off. It's a procedural, and we want to sort of follow them sort of step by step. So to that extent here, it is kind of leaning into Ocean's 11. We get sort of, there's going to be a promise to the answer of how they did it. We still want to know where it's going to go. Toby, what do you think is sort of like this borrowing from the big heist movie and trying to make a documentary around it, maybe blending these different styles?
Yeah, so this feels very much like what you'd expect from a Guy Ritchie documentary. It's got like sort of the bumping score. Somebody must have come to Guy Ritchie with this story. It's like, this is like just like a heist movie. But they really, really leaned into it. Like this is as close to a heist movie as you're going to find in a documentary. It's like got all these tropes. It's like Lee, like the main guy who you follow along. It's like his last go. Like this is going to be the money he retires on. And then they assemble the team and it's like the explosive guy, the tough guy, the insider, it's like all these different people have these very specialized things. Yeah. And so you're kind of watching, and we could talk about some of the other tropes later. And it's all kind of done in sort of the Guy Ritchie style of sort of flashy, introducing them. He uses actors to play them in different parts. So anyway, I thought that was like, it makes it a fun watch, right? But then you're also kind of like, could it really have been this perfectly just exactly like a heist movie? Or are they taking some license to make it sort of fall within the genre conventions?
Yeah, Lisa, this is a very stylized documentary between the visuals, but the music and everything. And what's your take on sort of the production values here?
Oh, yeah. I loved the editing. I felt like the differences in lighting between like, especially when they cut back to the 80s and then in the interviews with the dark, with just a light on him. The editing was excellent. The score was beautiful, but sometimes a bit too dramatic for a true story. I guess, I mean, it was good for the dramatic value and added intensity, but sometimes it was a lot.
I liked that "Smack My Bitch Up" song.
Okay.
And if you had closed captions on, I mean, it was clear that they were very intentional about the score, because it would say like music fades out with crescendo, or like things like that. Like it was very specific about how the music was affecting the dramatization.
So we're following the story really here of Lee. Certainly in the first episode, we're seeing things through his eyes. And, you know, it's like, are we supposed to like Lee? I think they want us to root for him, even if it's obvious to us that he didn't escape with $1 million. But it does look like they did take him to the expensive rack over at Banana Republic so that he could have like the most stylish turtleneck sweater. Laura, what was your take on Lee?
I was going to say Lee was a robber I could root for. Like, you know, they gave a great backstory about his father, and they were the gypsies growing up, and he's trying to show his father, who's like the, you know, career criminal guy, that, Dad, I can do it.
I wanted to be like my dad and his mates. And I just wanted the respect of people. Like people would look at them, the respect they gave them. I wanted to do something really big to say that I did that.
The way that he told it was so funny to me. Like, he had a good sense of humor. He was very engaging. He was able to make fun of himself, even in the retelling, like back in the good old days when we were going to do this diamond heist. And then he takes his daughter with him when he's like scoping out the place twice. And
no one will ever know. Who would suspect me?
You know, so I felt like he was definitely somebody we could root for. And I think his character arc was just super funny in the way that, like, he gets to the end and now he's not gone back to his life of crime. Now he's actually driving the digger as a landscaper, but he talks about going back. He made that funny comment about going back to the dome and how there was like no memorial about the fact that this, you know, this almost happened. He said, I thought there'd be a plaque in there, but there was nothing.
There was nothing.
So there was just something about him that you could kind of get behind in a way that, like, he didn't feel like a dangerous criminal to me. Maybe I'm jaded now because of what I do for work, but I'm like, he's just kind of a fun robber. He's
a fun robber.
Yeah.
He's not a robber. He's a thief.
Yeah, big difference. Big difference there, actually, depending on when it comes time to sentencing. Now, Lisa, I feel like this falls in between one of the, as far as the style, one of the most divisive crime writers on reviews, which happens to be The Legend of Cocaine Island, where Laura loves it and Toby thinks it is fucking stupid.
Yep.
So we have Lee, who, you know, plays a version of himself in the reenactments. And it kind of also reminded me, guys, of the Pez Bandit, again, where they bring the guy in. I think Lee, actually, now we're going to talk about his acting ability for a second here, which seems silly. I did enjoy his performance in certain scenes because he conveys a lot when he's playing small, as they say, in his eyes and sort of thinking about stuff. And I think it helps the viewer not only sort of make a connection to him as a character and personally and whatnot, it does help the story and kind of, you know, move the stakes along. I'm sure his ability to sort of emote in a certain way, whether it's authentic or not, helped him out as a professional criminal. What did you think of Lee's performance and using him in this way when, again, they could have got an actor in a nice Banana Republic sweater to do all the same things?
He reminded me a lot of Lev Parnas from Russia with Lev.
Okay.
Like, just kind of as, like Laura was saying, like, very likable, very, like, in his storytelling. That was more of a redemption arc. I guess it's kind of a redemption arc since it was his last big hurrah. But, I mean, there's no redemption. He doesn't feel bad about it. He just stopped doing it. But, I mean, I like the way they used him. He's a good storyteller, probably because he is excited about this story. So he tells it pretty well. And he tells it with a smirk, you know?
Yeah, when you live to tell the tale, it's a lot easier to be forthcoming. Toby, there's another character in this story here that we didn't really know much about, and I'm glad that they did explore this, and it's the Millennium Dome, which, to those of us in North America, we really had no idea that this building was there or that it meant anything. And you enjoyed this diversion into the history and zeitgeist that is the Millennium Dome.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's such a big thing. And I guess, is sort of universally considered to be lame. And I think it falls in that sort of cool Britannia era, none of which has aged particularly well. But you have like Tony Blair and like all these Britpop bands and stuff. Yeah, so I thought it was just funny. Like they had some funny clips of like some kid who looked like he was like 13 or 14. They're like, yeah, did you have good fun? Would you want to come back? He's like, nah, I don't think I'm good.
Would you like to come back?
No, not particularly.
Like even their description of it makes it sound like it kind of sucks. Like, I don't know, whoever was pitching this idea. It's like, we're going to have this awesome dome and then we're going to have like all this lame stuff inside of it. I'm not sure how that got into the actual construction and marketing phase, but apparently it did. Is it still around? Is it just like hanging out somewhere?
Yeah, no, it's now the O2 Arena. I think they did some.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's
okay.
when
So
the
they
O2
really do stuff there.
They do stuff there now. So, Lisa, if you decided that you wanted to take a trip to the Millennium Dome, you can't actually go to the Millennium Dome, but you could go to the building. And I think that after they built it up to be so exciting, do you feel like you're missing out on the fact that you don't get to see the OG Millennium Dome?
Oh, I kind of do. I love things that are boring. Like, I just want to go places that people are like, here's this mundane thing. So, yeah, I was a little bummed that you just said it was turned into an arena because, like, I just want to go see the oddities or whatever. I don't know that I want to see the, like, go through the body. That exhibit was a little much. But the, like, conehead people that were in the videos, that looked fantastic.
Yeah, this is another one of these Y2K messes here. You know, Laura, I loved what a joke it became. I don't even know what the actual purposes of it was. It looked like an abandoned shopping mall underneath a circus tent. Was there even a food court here? Like,
no.
What? People were lined up with tickets to get inside. I mean, I'm sure it was really like probably more robust than that, and it just got like a bad reputation, and so they're really kind of playing that up because, you know, there's a lot of things here that they're stylizing and playing up. But I thought that just sort of added to the, you know, the whole story that it was in the middle of a place that ends up being, you know, made out of toothpicks.
Basically, like, I mean, like, this looks like something from like a kid's birthday party gone wrong. Like, everybody was in on it. Like, there was one point even when we get to the chapter of this where it's about the cops, and the cops are like, what aroused our suspicion was he went twice to the Millennium Dome, and nobody goes twice. And I was like... So it was like, that's suspicious.
I don't want to profile your lameness, but that's really suspicious.
What tipped us off was that he went twice because nobody goes back.
No, nobody goes back, but you'll never leave us on Patreon once you join us. It's almost as good as having the Millennium Star in your bookcase. Yeah, we're in the business section. I just have to do it by myself this time without Rebecca. You can join us at patreon.com/partners in crime media for all sorts of exclusive content. We have the Crime Writers on After Show. In the last episode, we talked about Toby Ball's new movie that's on its way. It's a film adaptation of the Strange Arrivals podcast. Really interesting discussion. Toby Ball also has the Deep Dive Book Club podcast. On the last episode, he and his panel of esteemed guests talked about the book American Prison. There's also the Readathon, which is Rebecca Lavoie's ongoing coverage of the Karen Reed trial. In addition to sort of the day-to-day stuff that we're talking about, we also dive into certain things like who put that rock on the lawn of the Alberts home right before the jury came along for the view and then took it away. And also this whole ruse about ring camera footage that never materialized. All sorts of interesting stuff. Laura Bricker has the Leave It to Bricker podcast that you can get, and it's all about finding Zelda. Who's Zelda? Well, the pet detective lost her own pet, and we find out how Laura Bricker was able to get it back. Other great things that you can do to support us is join us at our Amazon storefront, where you can see some of our favorite things. Laura, can you tell us, what are this week's Amazon recommendations for our listeners?
Well, this is actually something I have in my very own house, which I believe I added to our Amazon storefront. It is Drink Coaster, cat gifts for cat lovers, fun woven creative coasters, cute coffee coaster for home decor, tabletop protection, suitable for kind cups, 3-piece.
Now, I've seen this. It's basically like you're putting your hot coffee mug on a cat's ass.
Yeah. Well, so I like to use these kind of things. It's like a doily, like that your grandma might have knit, but it's cats, and it looks like it's got a little cat butthole in the middle. And I like to put my Alexa on it in the kitchen.
Okay.
So my Alexa has a nice soft place to sit.
So nice for it.
Alexa, buy more kitty litter. Yeah, perfect. Toby, can you tell us what your listener-inspired Toby Ball's deep cut recommendations are?
Sure. We'll start off with the Fantasticrian small bird statues, gold home decor, modern style figurine, decorative ornaments for living room, bedroom, office, desktop cabinets. And then second, aroma season heated eye mask for dry eyes, warm eye compress with flaxseed, graphene, FIR for MGD, which I assume is Miller Genuine Draft, dry eye syndrome, chalazion, blepharitis style eye tree.
Wow, I got to get me one of those.
You got two, Kevin.
I get two, one for each eye. That's perfect. You can see all that great stuff by shopping us first at amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers On. We earn commissions on qualified purchases. Now, this is when Rebecca says, Kevin, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week?
Well, do we?
Kevin, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Jessica Reynolds and Berkeley Brown. Bless you. So bless you, Jessica and Berkeley and all of our friends out there supporting us on Patreon. We love you so much. You keep this podcast going. And like we say, once you join us on Patreon, you won't leave because we'll just keep charging your credit card anyway. No, we won't do that. The law says we can't do that. But there is a difference between being a thief and a robber, and we'll get into that. So anyway, I'm going to fade that music out right now.
So, Kevin.
Yes.
Who's the sponsor for this episode of Crime Writers On?
Oh, we welcome a new sponsor. It's Rula Health.
Ooh.
Finding the right mental health care should be simple and affordable, but for many, it is not. You got long wait times and high costs, and so that means like finding the right provider, it can really make getting help feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so that's where Rula comes in. Rula connects you with in-network licensed therapists that accept most major insurance, right? So it has been a very trying time for many people.
Yes.
And I always say, you don't maybe necessarily want to take everything that you're feeling
and put it on Facebook in a post?
Yeah, or tell your sister who's going to go because she might be the problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like you really want to talk to a professional, find somebody that you're comfortable with. That's where Rula comes in. They partner with a network of over 10,000 therapists and psychiatrists nationwide, enabling you to find your personalized solution and the right therapist for you based on your needs, preferences, and state requirements. So every therapist is carefully vetted, so you are in expert hands. And for the in-network covered care for most major insurances, you pay for as little as $15 per session.
Wow. So join the thousands who have already turned to Rula for support on their journey to better mental health and well-being. Getting started is so easy. Just visit rula.com/CWO
CWO
today. That's RULA.com/CWO
CWO
to connect with a licensed therapist who truly cares. Your mental health matters. Individual costs depend on your insurance and deductible.
The Slayer has been activated.
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
Id Software presents Doom: The Dark Ages. Available now.
Rated mature.
If you don't know about our flyer deals on Instacart, this message is for you. Flyer deals are like strolling through your favorite store looking for deals, but instead, you're scrolling on your phone. Because getting delivery doesn't mean you have to miss out on in-store deals, like the creamer that doesn't upset your stomach, or the pasta sauce that you can't not buy when it's on sale. Download the Instacart app, shop flyers, and never miss a deal. Plus, get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes.
Okay, so Lisa, we have sort of a fake out near the end. If we get to the heist part of this, that seems like, yeah, they got away with it all because they show us that.
This was probably my favorite part of the whole series because I was like the whole time. So I knew nothing about this going into it. I usually am not a heist person. I was less than interested to start with. And then I started watching it, got really into it. And by this point, I didn't know what happened, if they were going to get away with it. So as it was playing out and showing them getting away and all that, I was super into it. And then it zoomed out from him. I was like, why would they be filming him in Spain? And then it kind of zoomed out on the fake set. I loved it. I felt a little cheesy, but it was highly entertaining for me.
Yeah, it kind of goes with the whole sort of feel of we're going to be hyper-realistic doing this. I have some questions about the cops. Now, we start off, the format here is like the first episode is called Robbers. We're looking at Lee and all of the Avengers of bad British behavior. And then the second episode is Cops. And so this is where we get to meet people from this elite squad called the Flying Squad, which I don't know why they call it that. But apparently they are experts in foiling crimes. And I don't know how they are able to do this. Is this like Minority Report where they look into the future and they're able to figure out where crimes are going to happen?
Yes.
Because I really want to know what they're doing the other 364 days of the year. So we do get to see stuff from the cops' point of view. That includes things like surveillance footage. And this is where we see like some of the actual real archival stuff. And Toby, you like the sort of that we also get that aspect to the story and what it adds to it.
Yeah, so I like that part a lot. They've got surveillance footage. They've got surveillance photos. They're talking to the people who did the surveillance and how it worked and sort of how comprehensive it was. And I do like, especially if you identify it all with Lee, there's sort of this claustrophobic feeling of predetermined doom. You know, it's just like he doesn't really have a chance. They're so on top of things before the heist even begins that it seems unlikely. And that was what happened. You know, Lisa was just talking about, you know, they do this fake where it's like, this is what it would look like if they'd gotten away with it. And I was like, how did they not have boats in there? Like they've been escaping on boats. And I was like, okay, so this is actually not happening. It's just another one of the heist tropes. There was actually, I think, a movie called Arabesque, maybe, where the entire movie was like that. It was like how the heist was supposed to go for like 40 minutes. And then you go back to the beginning and then everything just like goes wrong. That's kind of what happened here. But I thought they use more than in other documentaries I think we've seen, the sort of feel, the tropes, the music, the recreations that they do are also, they're all like classic sort of Guy Ritchie style things that you see in fictional movies. And he's applied it to this story. And as entertainment, I think it works really well. Is this like a super accurate version of what actually happened? I don't know. It seems so on point that it's just hard to believe that there's not some massaging of reality to make it sort of fall within the constructs that we're used to.
I don't know. I kind of like that nail gun, but that just might be me.
Yeah.
Laura, what do you think is sort of like this Law and Order kind of like we're going to see one side of the coin and then the other here when we pivot away from Lee and his crew and to the cops who all of a sudden are, you know, bringing a sense of danger for Lee.
I loved that. At the end of the first, I'm like, okay, this is fun, like the first episode. And then it flips when you find out at that moment that they've not only been watching them, but you see like the secret security camera up at the farm where they're like having their planning meetings and the level that they have gone to get them all under surveillance. And also the way that they were able to actually trace their projection for how this was going to play out. You know, the day they're like, okay, it's going down.
The dome had something like 130 cameras in there. And we had outside broadcast cameras, as well as helicopter cover giving what we call heli-telly. All that was being fed into the main control room where I was sitting, so I could see where they were at any time, and I had a clear perspective of what was happening.
So it really set it up in a way that by the time you get to that third episode, you're like, okay. And then when they show that ridiculous thing driving down the road, that like backhoe digger, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing. Like nobody's going to notice that coming at the Millennium Dome.
Yeah. I mean, certainly we've seen the earlier robbery where they use this giant spike to pierce the armored car. You're like, okay, they're serious and creative and willing to be rough about breaking in. But of course, they don't need a giant iron spike when the dome is just an exoskeleton covered by canvas or something like that. Easy enough to get into. But it was a clever way to get to the vault after all. Lisa, there's a whole other, set of eyes on this heist that aren't the cops. And it seems to be the press. There is a newspaper reporter / editor who has the inside skinny that this is going down and was willing to sit on it in exchange for some consideration. What did you think of that?
Oh, I didn't like that guy. He seems so, I liked him as a character, but not as a person. He was just very much about getting the scoop, and all he cared about was being able to be the first newspaper there.
They asked me simply not to run the story, and they would tell me all about it afterwards. I said no. I wanted more than that. I wanted to be there for the bust. Do a deal with me. Or see it all melt away.
Because of the way it went down, it was fine, but had people gotten hurt, had it gone awry, which I don't know how much he knew about the details or how dangerous it was, but to just allow, I guess because it was the cops, it kind of puts him in a hard place. It's not like it's any better for him to say, hey, the cops are doing a sting tomorrow, don't go to the dome. But man, how guilty would you feel if then, like they said, children had gotten hurt who were on a school trip or whatever? I was very conflicted by that whole situation. I don't envy that guy, but I also didn't like him.
Yeah. Laura, your thoughts?
Well, I've been in that position where I wanted the scoop and I've gotten advance information and I've said, okay, I'll sit on this story, but I want the first details on this when it happens. I don't think I ever talked myself into going on a bust. Although one of my favorite stories was when I did get the scoop ahead of time and I got the call to be at this location at this time. And I got to observe the bust from afar of this dogfighting operation that was happening in this suburban McMansion neighborhood near us. And I was hiding out in the trees with a photographer. And so it's hard because I think having been in that journalism world, I have been in that position as a very competitive person where I was well, I'm going to scoop the competition on this. But at the same time, in this case, there was a lot more at play because this could have gone horribly awry and people could have been horribly injured. But I'm I got to give him credit for working the system there. But this isn't just hey, we're going to have this little bust. This is a major situation that's going to unfold. So it was interesting to see that. I always love when we have some sort of a journalism angle.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to have to sit on it anyways, then, you might as well get something for it.
Yeah. Or just leave your photographer in the dome all the time. People be suspicious. No one comes back here, stays all day. Toby, so you talked about, sort of the different elements of the documentary and how it was put together, but talk about the heist itself, the different elements. Again, this is the thing, this is what makes or break any of these heist movies is okay, how did they do it? Is it clever? Is it different? And so what is your take just analyzing the crime itself?
Yeah, so the way they show it is kind of interesting in that they sort of set up what the obstacles are. And then in particular, Lee sort of talks about how they went about trying to defeat those obstacles. And the big one is that the diamond is behind this sort of impregnable glass shield that, I think they say you could take a lunatic and have him go at it with a sledgehammer for half an hour and he wouldn't get anywhere. And they come up with this idea of first weakening it by shooting nails into it, the kind of nails you shoot in concrete. So that was kind of interesting. Not surprisingly, it's not really as complicated and fun as an actual heist movie. Nobody's going through the sewers in gondolas or coming down from the top of the roof attached to really strong threads or anything like that. It's just mostly just we're going to fucking drive this piece of construction equipment through everything. And then we're going to jump out and we're just going to break a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to grab it, put it in our pockets and take off in a boat. So in the end, it's kind of how can we brute force everything and then escape by water? So it's interesting, but in the end, it's not really all that complex. Mm-hmm. But, it's kind of fun to listen to them talk about how they're doing it. And you talk about stakes and there's obviously a lot of money at stake. But for God's sake, you're stealing a diamond from De Beers, a South African diamond firm. It's just the person who's really going to get hit by this is their insurance. carrier. So it's hard to like work up a whole lot of outrage. It's like a target that you can kind of get behind as being like relatively victimless. So that again, as long as nobody's going to actually get physically hurt while this is going on, like the whole thing seems relatively harmless as far as crimes go.
Yeah, and I'm thinking here, like, there are places where they could have gone into sort of more detail, which is they say they can do this because they have a buyer already. Somebody's reached out. So it's not like they're going to fence it, right? You could steal the Mona Lisa, but who's going to buy it? And then, like, who's going to hang it on their wall? It's just way too hot. So how this buyer came to be, I think, was kind of left out. But, Lisa, it seemed like I'm glad that they waited until the very end to tell us this, but all the stakes would have gone away if we had known where the actual diamonds were when this all started to come together.
Yeah, from the time that they said they started watching him and then realized that his target was the diamonds, I was like, why are they leaving the diamonds in there? And then they showed the diamonds leaving. They didn't show them coming back, or they didn't. And I thought, like, why wouldn't you just bring back fake diamonds and let them break in and catch them? And then it got to the end and I was like, oh, okay. But it's clear they formatted it the way they did for this fake out ending, is to give you that satisfaction of the heist movie. And then at the end, it's like, oh, but let's pull the rug out because the diamonds weren't even in there.
Yeah, I mean, Laura, we already talked about how lame the Millennium Dome is. How about all the people that went there? They looked at a bunch of glass and never even knew it. They're like, oh, wow, look at these fancy diamonds. Nobody knew the difference.
Yeah. No, I know. It's like, you're like, okay, so it looked like a very good fake. I don't know. But I guess at the time, like, you'd be like, well, I thought I saw the real thing. Well, it's like, you see things like historical things too, where they put like replicas on display, but they tell you, like, here in Exeter, we have the fake Declaration of Independence, and then we have the real one, which is hidden away somewhere that is not on display. But they tell you, yeah, this is the fake one the electrician found when he was working on the roof in this building in town. The real one is not here. But I, like Lisa, I was kind of like, when that came out at the end, I'm like, of course they swapped the diamond. Of course they swapped the diamond. The only thing that made the ending not totally lame was that the guy was like, fuck,
Yes.
Like, that was...
Do you think he had just found out? Because I'm sure it was a kick in the nuts when he did eventually find out that he went through all that trouble. He's going to jail, even his father, and that even if they made it to the boat and vanished, it was a piece of glass.
It was a piece of glass. Yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine he didn't know before now, and I'm for sure they can be like, well, what did you think when you found out? What was your reaction? Fuck.
That was probably it. That was probably the real reaction. But also, Laura, you thought that the sleeper star of this documentary was his daughter.
Yeah, I thought she was an interesting perspective. She didn't seem like she was super thrilled to be taking part, but she played along. And I felt like here she is, and she's raised by her dad. She doesn't really know all the things he does, but she recounts kind of what it was like growing up with him.
I remember just thinking, wow, look at those. They're so pretty. And like every little girl, you're like, oh, diamonds, I want a diamond. And I actually remember asking my dad, I was like, can I have one day? Maybe he took that too seriously.
I just thought she brought an interesting energy to this in the way that she was a side character, but she was a side character that, like, you're like, what would I have done if I was this little girl that went along and thought I was going to the lame Millennium Dome? And then I found out that my dad was trying to smash
What's worse?
This. Yeah.
Your dad brings you to the Millennium Dome, or he does it because he's staking out the place for a crime.
Exactly.
If you don't know about our flyer deals on Instacart, this message is for you. Flyer deals are like strolling through your favorite store looking for deals, but instead, you're scrolling on your phone. Because getting delivery doesn't mean you have to miss out on in-store deals, like the creamer that doesn't upset your stomach, or the pasta sauce that you can't not buy when it's on sale. Download the Instacart app, shop flyers, and never miss a deal. Plus, get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes.
Businesswoman, entrepreneur, and supermodel Cindy Crawford founded Meaningful Beauty with world-renowned cosmetic specialist Dr. Sabah to share his age maintenance-focused skincare treatments and formulas. After using Meaningful Beauty for 8 weeks, 100% of women said their skin looks vibrant and bright. Tomorrow's gorgeous starts today. Go to meaningfulbeauty.com/beauty to receive 25% off and get the Targeted Treatment Duo gift set for free. meaningfulbeauty.com/beauty. That's meaningfulbeauty.com/beauty.
At Designer Shoe Warehouse, we believe that shoes are an important part of, well, everything.
From first steps to first dates, from all-nighters to all-time personal bests.
From building pillow forts to building a life.
For all the big and small moments that make up your whole world, DSW is there. And we've got just the shoes. Find a shoe for every you from brands you love at brag-worthy prices at your DSW store or DSW.com.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out The Diamond Heist on Netflix. Lisa Strawn filling in for the vacationing, not really vacationing, Rebecca Lavoie. Thumbs up or thumbs down for The Diamond Heist?
I'm a definite thumbs up. I don't usually love heist type things necessarily, but it pulled me in immediately. I was into it. I was invested, and I was into it all the way until the end. So thumbs up for me.
Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Diamond Heist?
This is a thumbs up for me. Even though I did fall asleep the first time I tried to watch the last episode, it was only because I was staying up past my bedtime. I just was drawn in. I'm like, this was fun. It was kind of, as Toby had pointed out in the review, victimless crime in the scheme of crimes that we see. I loved the style that this was filmed in and told in. Like, I don't know anything about Guy Ritchie other than like he was married to Madonna once, but everyone's like, oh, it's a Guy Ritchie style. I loved the use of bold colors to highlight the characters. I loved the soundtrack. I'm pretty sure we're all going to be seeing the soundtrack for this somewhere because it was definitely like kind of a fun part of this as you were watching it. I loved the way that it was set up to tell you all sides of the story, but really in the style of kind of like a fun movie as opposed to a real life story. So it was a thumbs up for me.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Diamond Heist?
Yeah, I'm a thumbs up too. Unlike Laura, I have watched Guy Ritchie movies. And if you like Guy Ritchie movies and you want to see a documentary, like this is the one for you. It follows very closely his style and sort of the heist movie tropes and all this stuff. A lot of colorful characters. I think characters who might not be colorful in real life are made to seem colorful. Yeah, I liked it. I don't know if it'll be in my top 10 at the end of the year, but it goes down easy. It's fun. It's not fraught the way a lot of the stuff we do is. So yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm also going thumbs up. It has sort of elements of The Legend of Cocaine Island, but it's edited together in a more high energy, more high octane way. I don't know if other documentaries should try to emulate that, but it works here. It doesn't have a ton of depth, but as far as like a heist procedural goes, it has plenty of gas. It's very propulsive, and it's just light enough that it maintains the pluck that the robbers had, and the fact that, you know, in a way that you're always kind of rooting for these guys anyway, but you have to admire just the way they decide to punch up for this big grab. And, you know, that way you also can kind of root for the cops too. But it's got a really interesting character at the center where you get to follow him. He's very expressive, and so that sort of plays into the idea that you also get sort of emotionally attached to him. Even though he might have all sorts of mean tattoos over his knuckles or something, he's still a very lovable guy. Because, you know, who wouldn't be when you're trying to break into a giant tent to steal a whole walnut-sized diamond? So for me, I'm going to go thumbs up on The Diamond Heist. All right, that's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat of the week?
There has been like a lot of cat drama in my neighborhood ever since my cat Zelda went missing. Last weekend, a lady from down the road called and I helped her find her cat, her dead father's cat that she had promised to take care of. She was beside herself. And then the very next day, I got a text message from my friend Jen, who had seen in the local community forum on Facebook that the cat that I call Fake Rocky is now missing.
Oh.
And Fake Rocky looks so much like my cat, Rocky Flintstone, that the first time I saw this cat when I was driving out of my neighborhood, I stopped my car, left all the doors open, and jumped out because I thought it was my cat who had escaped from my house. And it was not. And leading up to this, Fake Rocky has been taunting Real Rocky from the outside of my condo, sitting outside while Real Rocky sits in the window. It's been ongoing. And so now I'm trying to help find this cat, whose name is actually Saul. But I've never seen a doppelganger so accurate as this cat. And so I hope this cat is found. I will keep you all updated. But I'll send you a picture of the fake Rocky and the real Rocky so you can see just how ridiculous this is.
And we'll put that in today's newsletter. If there's still time, go to crimewriterson.com, give us your email address. You'll get that free newsletter. But for some reason, it keeps failing to go out at the right time. So I'm sorry that the other week's newsletter came out 6 days late. I didn't know that until then. It just, shit happens around here. Laura Bricker, if people want to reach out to you and say, where's my goddamn newsletter? How can they do that?
I can say, I know where Kevin Flynn lives because I'm a detective, and I'll put you in touch with him. But you can find me at Laura Bricker on Blue Sky and Instagram.
Toby, how can our listeners follow you?
I'm at Tuiball at Blue Sky.
And Lisa Strawn, thank you so much for filling in for Rebecca, who is double booked today. If people want to reach out to you or they want to know more about the True Crime Podcast Festival, how can they do that?
They can find out more at truecrimepodcastfestival.com or follow at TCPF_official on Instagram. There's probably a Twitter, but I have no idea if we still use it.
Well, you can find me at all those places at Kevin P. Flynn. You can also follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, Blue Sky, and TikTok. And I encourage you to join our amazing community in our official Crime Writers On Facebook discussion group. Get episodes early and ad-free at patreon.com/partners in crime media. You'll also get the CWO After Show, Married with Podcast, Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast, and Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. Our theme song was composed and performed by Ty Gibbons. Our line editor is the excellent Livy Burdett. The executive producer is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in Studio C, the closet in our New Hampshire basement that is also a much derided and expensive construction project with few attractions and limited usage. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later.
They can go to truecrimepodcastfestival.com or... Sorry, I had to wait.
Perfect timing.
Yep. They can go to truecrimepodcastfestival.com. They can follow at TCPF_official on...
Partners in Crime Media.
This season, let your shoes do the talking. Designer Shoe Warehouse is packed with fresh styles that speak to your whole vibe without saying a word. From cool sneakers that look good with everything to easy sandals you'll want to wear on repeat, DSW has you covered. Find a shoe for every you from the brands you love, like Birkenstock, Nike, Adidas, New Balance, and more. Head to your DSW store or visit DSW.com today.